Coming to you live from downtown Detroit, this is Benzinga's PreMarket Prep with your host, Joel Elconin.
This is a volatile puppy here, isn't it?
And Dennis Dick.
I'm bidding a penny. I will buy the stock for a penny.
With everything you need to start your trading day.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this Tuesday edition of Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep. Spencer Israel, as always, joined by Joel Elconin and Dennis Dick on our show today. We're going to be talking about Hurricane Florence and the implications of that, this incredibly tight trading range in the S&P 500. We have not had a day of more than a 1% move in 53 straight trading days. Thank you, Wall Street Journal, for that cool stat. We're going to talk about YUMC China. AMD have a couple earnings reports trickling in and some interesting ratings to discuss as well. Our guest today, Nick Shaheen, he will join the show at 8:35 as he does every Tuesday. He is the author of Create Income with Option Spreads. Joel, what is the word with the overnight session?
Oh, we are in the red a little bit here by 7 3/4 points to 72.75. We already took out yesterday's low, so that's not a good sign to 73 1/4. Big number on the downside, and that is 28.65. That was last week's low. It's the lowest level we've been at here since mid-August. So I think that will be the key to any downside. On the upside, we got to get back over yesterday's high at 28.88. Your pre-market high stands at 28.85. Crude just hanging out here in the 67 handle. A lot going on at 67.75 here. So got a little short position there with the stop above 68. We got crude in the red by gold in the red by $1 at 11.98.90. Silver just hanging out. You need some inflation to get those things moving. And Bitcoin. Bitcoin is flat at 62.50, just hanging over that critical support at 6,000. Triple D, how did you do yesterday? Did you talk for one continuous hour?
I did. I did much better than the Lions did, so I'll just say that much there. How was that? Actually, Spencer helped me a little bit, so I wasn't talking continuously, but I talked a lot more than I normally do.
Okay.
So, how was that stocks and jocks session? Did they give you some heat or what?
You know what? I'm going to say the same thing that I did on stocks and jocks, and I'm going to turn the Lions' lopsided loss into a lesson, a teaching lesson.
Well, they've been in teaching lessons for 50 years, but go ahead.
Who's been in teaching lessons?
The Lions.
No. I'm talking about people we care more about.
Oh, so you're not saying that the Lions learned anything from this?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. Give me the teaching lesson from it.
Okay. Did you see Matt Patricia on the sidelines during that game? Did you see him walking around? He must have had 47 things attached to his belt. Okay. He had his Surface. All right. And he had his color-coded card. And it's total analysis paralysis. He was looking at all these different things, and he didn't know what the hell was going on. I mean, he wasn't even looking at the field. He's looking at his belt. He's looking at his iPad, his Surface, and all these different things. He should just throw all that stuff away and look at the field and see what the hell is going on the field. They were getting absolutely destroyed. So there's your trading lesson from the Lions game: is do not have too many indicators. Do not have too many things to look at. I mean, I don't even know. Did you see it, Spencer? Do you know what I'm talking about? He could barely walk. He had so much crap on him. He couldn't even walk. Is Nick around? Is Nick listening to this or not?
I didn't see last night, but I've seen him in the past, and yes, I know what you're referring to. So if there's a lesson to be learned here, it's use the information that you like the most and tune out the rest.
I'll tell you the information from a coaching perspective or anything for perspective watching that Lions game. It wasn't fun to watch. So RD saying he did not want to see the field. That's why he had so much stuff there. Agree with him. I actually had to turn it off. I mean, 37, I turned it off for a bit. And you know what? Then they scored on the very next play again. And I was like, okay, well, I got to turn it back on because I just have to watch the train wreck.
Well, what happened? What happened on that play? Because I was watching it downstairs with Dan, and I'm like,
would you turn it off too?
Well, I said, I can't I think it was.
I couldn't take it anymore. I turned it off.
I turned it off, and then I went upstairs, and I turned the TV on, and I'm like, wait a second. I'm like, it's 48 now.
I know.
Literally,
They got the next like 11 points in like 5 seconds. I felt like.
Yeah. Okay.
What an awful game! And you're a Jets fan, though, aren't you, Spencer? You're sitting here in the background, just cool, calm, and collected. You're not even rubbing it in. Look how nice he is.
Look, you guys turn the Jets into Super Bowl hopefuls. That is so hard to do. That is so hard to do.
What's that line looking like on the Redskins next week? Not looking good now, probably.
I don't know. Maybe they should just forfeit. I don't know.
They should just forfeit. All right, we said we wouldn't talk about football. Now we talked 5 minutes about the disaster that is. If you want to really, Detroit listeners, 97.1 the ticket, you can hear the disaster. Fans calling in on the 0-16 season coming up. Let's not get too crazy here, but let's move on to the markets. We are getting hit here this morning. S&Ps are trading the red. What was that stat you gave in the preview, Spencer? What is a stat that has moved 1%? What?
Yeah.
How many days?
53 straight trading days where the S&P has not moved 1% in either direction, more than 1%.
Is that for real? Joel, is that for real? We haven't had a 1% move in 53 trading days? It's tough about it because if you just look at where we are now too, we're so much higher. So a 1% move is a lot more in points. You got to move 28 points, 29 points now to get the 1% move. 5-6 years ago, I had to move like 15 points or 17 points to do it. So it's a little tougher to do now, I guess, from that perspective. But wow, that's an incredible stat. When's the last time that happened? Like this long, Spencer?
It was like January, so it wasn't that long.
No. I'm saying, like they said, so this is the first time in how long? We went 50 days without a 1% move?
Yeah, January. That's what it was.
Wow.
Okay.
I mean, we probably have some interday moves that have been over that, but closing on that, I mean, consolidation. I mean, a lot of, times we talk about a move and then a consolidation, and the trend has been up. Another long consolidation period here near all-time highs. Let's see if we finally get a move lower. I mean, 28.65 was last week's low, so we take that out. I'm in the move for 2,800, which you never took, Dennis. And we got to get above. I even go today's high. If we close above 28.85, I would flip into the bullish camp. But consolidations, lead the moves, and that's what you have here.
Let's talk individual stocks here. And there's some interesting ratings here today. Let's go right to Tesla here. This is a big one coming out of Mura Instinet. They're calling the equity uninvestable. So one of the bulls is obviously downgrading the stock here today. You know what? It's kind of shrugging it off, because when I saw that note go by in my Twitter feed and just the headline of it, I was like, oh boy, it's going to be down like $20 today. It's only down 5, so it's shrugging it off. I mean, it was a huge day for the stock yesterday, getting on 20 points thanks to Baird. Analysts coming out just as negative, seems like, as Baird was positive yesterday, but not down as much as you would think. Trying to hold on to some of the gains here. I mean, a weak day in the market too, but we are only down 5 points. Do you have that note in front of you by any chance, Spencer? Or
no, sir.
Okay. Anyways, that was the headline.
It is a downgrade. You should mention it's a downgrade to neutral. So it's not like
downgrade to neutral. So it wasn't to sell. So He wasn't as bearish as he'd act, because he wasn't. He didn't go to sell on it, even though he's saying it's uninvestable. I would say if you say the equity is uninvestable, you would have said sell it. But I guess he only goes to neutral. So whatever the hell that means. But anyways, down 5 points here. Joel, thoughts here? I've thought about lightening up my position, or possibly just getting rid of it because it's a small position anyways, into this rally. I got over half my losses back yesterday. What are your thoughts here? Are you a believer? I mean, everybody's so damn bearish this thing now. It makes me not want to sell it for just that reason. But I mean, it was a good candle yesterday.
I wish we could break out when, what was it, last October, we had Gene Munster in the office and we did all those extensive interviews. And, I was like, the old fogey doesn't believe in like wireless cars or driverless cars and everything. So I've never have bought the story. I've never, believed that you're going to have the infrastructure. So, fundamentally, I can never dip my toe in the water. Technically now, and I'm just going to give this on this downgrade, you got some shorts right now that are thinking, did I miss a short-term bottom here? We traded down to 252.25. You're not going to get any worse news than you did on Friday with him lighting up on the Joe Rogan show, and then the chief, what was the other thing? The accounting officer. So you spike down to 52.25, and then you gap up the next day and go. So right now, the reason you're not down more is because there's either shorts in there that are like, okay, I need to bring some of this back in, or there's people that have never messed on the long side in the 300s that are starting to nibble here. So that's why I think, that's why I don't think it's down as much today.
I completely agree with you, actually. I think there is some shorts here that are like, it went pretty much straight up from 255, 3 trading sessions ago, 252 up to 285, and those shorts are like, what the hell? And now that's coming in a little bit here. I think they are lightening up into this pullback here. So it was a nice candle yesterday. Technically speaking, I would say could see 300, but the story here is just all over the place. I mean, we don't know what headlines come next. We don't know if they're going to be profitable. They're trying to ramp up production, trying to hit their numbers so they don't have to do another capital raise. You know, Elon Musk, like you said, Thursday or whatever, smoking pot on the Joe Rogan show. I mean, it's just all over the place here. We got Gene Munster on yesterday, who's been an eternal bull on CNBC. He's saying they need to shake up the board and do some stuff. He sounded very concerned on CNBC Fast Money yesterday, and he's been a perma bull on this one for a long time. So, I mean, it's a real battle between the bulls and the bears here, and I don't even know what to do. Like I said, I'm long it. I was obviously wrong when I bought it originally. I thought that, you know, my argument thesis was that if they do start to get profitable, this thing's going to go up because it's done this well when it has been profitable, and I do still see it getting profitable. I don't know about next quarter, but next year. So I think eventually they could actually buy it just because of that. But from a valuation perspective, again, it doesn't make any sense. I'm so torn on this one.
Okay, and I don't know if I can help you out. I mean, if you held in this long, at least try and lead on that 252.25 low. That's and see what happens. See if you can get a little consolidation here, and then see which way it moves out of the consolidation here. We got some other stocks moving here, and I'd say Yum China. Is that where you want to go next?
Let's go.
All right. The news today is that a big consortium of investors in China is no longer planning a takeover of the company.
And the stock is trading significantly down here on this news. It's down 10% here. So this was obviously in play. We had seen the big pops in it before, and now they're saying there's going to be no deal. Is that what they're saying?
Yeah, they are going to stop pursuing a deal.
So, and that's taking us right back down to where we were when the stock originally announced. You can see the big candle. I'm assuming the original announcement of this, when this was in potential, was back in July 26th when the stock went from 32 to 41. Am I correct in that assumption?
Yeah, I think so.
I would assume so when it went up 9 points. So it's right back down to where it came from. So now you're back down here at 32. I mean, does that change the game? You're back down here. Is it for real? Is it done? It's kind of back to where it came from because it looks like there's no deal. So it kind of makes sense to me that it's back down here. Can it bounce off that 32? I think that's the big level. I think it can. I think it might test 32 or 32.90 here in the pre-market. Why not another 90 cents? I don't know if I'm buying it there. Maybe for a trade. Maybe the first time down there. Joe, what are your thoughts on that?
I agree. I mean, to me, when I pulled up on the daily charts, the double bottom at 32.10 and 32.28. It looks like someone is stepping ahead of that number over the last three brackets. You've had, you got down to 32.31 and 32.50, 32.60. Be much more of a buyer there between 32 and 32.5. That's where the support was then. Your net monthly low, it doesn't come into much lower than that. So I like the 32 hand, especially if I've been, coming in short, just saying it hit $40 a couple of days ago on August 28, traded 40.19. You get the bad news, the deal is off. Once again, I think shorts are going to use this opportunity to bring some stock in.
Let's go over to the hurricane stocks. We failed to talk about this yesterday, so I feel bad about that when I was going through on my 1 hour rant. I didn't mention the hurricane here, and I actually did have some of the stocks on my sheet. So when I get my sheet all discombobbled like this, sometimes I miss some stuff, and that was a big miss for me talking about the hurricane stocks yesterday. I actually tried to trade some of them yesterday, but they all opened up too much. Home Depot and Lowe's was opening way up. GNRC was opening up $2. I didn't feel like chasing them, but the chase continues here today. I mean, we don't know how bad this hurricane's going to be. It looks like it's going to hit Friday morning. Home Depot has just continuously caught a bid since it. The hurricane trade is back on, Joel. Home Depot Lowe's straight up. GNRC blasting off. yesterday. It is up here again at 60.50. It's up another $2 here today. We seem to see this every single year with GNRC, and during hurricane season, there'll be one or two bad hurricanes and the stock starts to go parabolic. It seems like when the dust settles, it does come back down. But what are your thoughts here on these hurricane plays?
I mean, as long as it's still in the news and they're trading higher. Grant Wilkerson mentioned another one that had a good move. BECN, Beacon Roofing, got up and now it's trading at $42. I mean, they've been trades. I mean, you just don't want to be long on when they say, oh, it's been downgraded to category 3 or whatever, or category 2. The only personal thing that I could tell you related to it is my niece's boyfriend is in dental school at the University of Charleston, and he was supposed to take his 4th year boards this week. And now he's having to pack up and go take them in Charlotte, North Carolina, and getting away from the hurricanes. So, man, oh man, you're taking a big test like that, and then you have to worry about getting blown away in a hurricane. So, sure. Good luck to Andrew out there. But if you are trading these stocks, you're trading them from the long side, you got to keep your eye on the Weather Channel, and because it's going to change if those things are downgraded or another hurricane develops. They're going to hit them. But right now, they're looking good.
Yeah, and also there's this hurricane stocks that aren't looking good, and those are obviously your insurance companies there. You can look, and people naturally think about the Allstates and the AIGs, and they were getting hit yesterday too. But the ones that really take it on the chin are the reinsurers. Those are the ones that obviously insure the property. And if you look here at some of those stocks, they've been annihilated and RE last 2 days, going from 220 down to 209. So, and maybe not now, but they've been hit pretty hard. Down 5 points on this hurricane, down another 5 points on this hurricane. I would suspect it's probably going to be down here again today. RNR is another one. Didn't get hit that hard yesterday. Got hit pretty hard the day before, though, straight down. You can look at AXS, which is Axis Capital. That's another one, too. It's been hit pretty good. And then if you want to go to the big ones like Travelers Group, Allstate, AIG, all those got hit yesterday too. So insurance stocks taking it on the chin as this hurricane approaches. I'm not sure if that trade continues or not. Usually you see and obviously we hope there's not going to be that much damage. And if that is the case, you'll see a relief pop in these things. I know, remember the bad one last year, and you saw the reinsurers absolutely get murdered. And I mean, like AHL was one of them, and it went from $50 down to like $35 in a matter of a week. And then the hurricane wasn't that bad. It bounced all the way back. Now, AHL isn't going to be one that does it because AHL is getting taken over. So that's why I didn't mention it this time. Although, interesting enough, it actually did get hit a little bit yesterday. So I don't know, people are worried that the deal might not go through because of a hurricane. But it's funny, here's a stock that isn't moving at all, and all of a sudden fell 50 cents yesterday. There's a cash takeout price there. So risk arbs pricing a little bit of hurricane risk on the deal, which is amazing. But keep an eye on all those insurance companies. I would say as we get closer, we'll get more information. But right now, they're saying it could be pretty bad.
Okay, just from the chat real quick, Gumby966, he's asking about the YUM China and its impact on YUM. And right now it's looked like it's having absolutely no impact on it. It's trading flat at an all-time high at 88.46. Dennis, any thoughts on the YUM China YUM impact?
YUM China impact from what?
On YUM, on YUM.
Oh, yeah. You've moved away from the hurricane stuff already. Joel didn't like the hurricane talk, so I'm wondering where the hell you're going here. You got me lost. No, they're not related anymore. So, can YUM be down because YUM China's not? They've already spun it off. So there used to be obviously a relationship when these two companies traded together, but they've spun it off. It's kind of its own thing now. I don't think there's much influence. I mean, it doesn't help YUM if YUM still owns some shares of YUM China. I'm not sure. But I don't think there's too much impact on YUM from YUM China deal not going through. But I'll go back and talk some charts on some of these hurricane stocks.
Yeah, sorry about that.
We got our technical analyst Joel Elconin back with us here today, and I just want to get your thoughts here, like stocks like RE. So here's a stock that's obviously property insurer. Spinner's saying, and when the dust settles on these things, sometimes they're buys. I agree with you, Spinner. I don't want to get in there too soon though, because I think the dust hasn't settled yet. I think the dust is just getting stirred up here. So if we get to Thursday or Friday, and if it looks all of a sudden like it's not going to be that bad, sometimes you'll see a relief pop. But as of, here right now, I think there's still more work on the downside here, maybe for a couple of days as we still get more information there. But if I'm looking at buying a dip in something like RE, where am I looking, Joel?
Oh my God. I mean, well, first of all, isn't this the start of hurricane season?
Well, there's another consideration there too. When is the official Spencer Israel? You got some sun in your eyes over there, buddy. When is there's no hurricanes in the Motor City because Spencer's got the gleaming sun coming down on his eye. Should show that right now. But what is your thoughts here, or what is the actual dates when hurricane season starts? Like, is there an actual month or date this is an official start of hurricane season?
I think it's generally considered mid-August to the end of September.
Oh, so we're right in the middle of it right now then. So it's only really one bad month? I thought it was like 3 or 4 months.
I mentioned this 2 weeks ago, and we didn't really talk about it on the show. But no, hurricane season does start officially, I think, at the end of August. But yeah, it's September and maybe early October if you really get into it.
Okay, so you got a couple months here where, you could see some more. But okay, here it is. Peak season. BuyApple says it starts in June. Fuzzy says for the next 8 weeks. So we kind of got consensus here. The next month, you could have some more storms brewing. So these stocks tend to do, the insurance companies tend to do weak when there's hurricanes. And obviously your Home Depots and your Lowe's and your Beacon Roofing, and obviously your GNRC is a pure hurricane stock. They tend to do well during the season. So the cyclicality to these things is fabulous to trade.
Monthly charts, I mean, that's what I go to when you get this kind of moves and kind of perspective on things. RE is it. I mean, if you think that this is nothing, you're going to shrug it off. This is a monthly support area that's been hit 206.90. We traded down to 209. This was back in December of last year. So this is the area. I mean, the only problem is when, you get monthly charts like this and they're just hanging out near the lower end. I mean, we saw this with, that's why I dumped my Western Digital when it was just hanging at 76. So this is the initial area of support in RE. Let's see how it reacts out of here. You had 3 red bars in a row. Maybe if you get some consolidation a little bit and then kind of, says, okay, at least we're stopping going down for 2 or 3 days, then you have a reference point. But right now, you got one daily low to lean on. So what are the chances of, this is it. This is the low. This is, you're not going to take any heat buying here. I don't think that's the case. I like to go to the monthly charts and then, what are the other ones? The bigger ones like Allstate.
Talk the bigger ones. These are actually plays that I like buying the dip a little bit more. And those property insurers and the reinsurers there can be really wicked trading here sometime. But when they start hitting the big guns, they tend to buy them back. Like if that Travelers gets silly, and I think you're early. I don't think I'm not coming in here today because I think it's too early. I think they could hit them here today, maybe the next day. But as that hurricane gets closer, if it looks like it's not going to be that bad, they'll turn around and buy these things. We've seen the relief pop before the hurricane hits sometimes if they start to downgrade it, like you were saying, Joel, or if it looks like it's not going to be that bad. But if Travelers got anywhere down near like the 122 area, if AIG gets anywhere down near $50, I mean, these things could be some good opportunities. Allstate, I would say like 92 to 94. Yeah. It can get anywhere. If it gets silly, and sometimes that's the case. If it can get silly and get down to those levels here in the next few days, I think there's going to be some good opportunities on the long side on some of these stocks.
And I think if you do see those kind of opportunities, I think you're going to see them kind of like early in the session, because right now some institutions may be, all right, this is it. Sell me a couple million on the open. I don't care where I'm out. So you'll see those. I mean, for Allstate, I see a bunch of lows. I know you mentioned that area 92, 93. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lows in a row in the upper 95, 94 handle. And we're still $3 away from that. So the big boys are holding up a little bit better than some of the, they're more diversified and they have places.
And a lot of this is like life insurance. I mean, we're hoping, obviously, usually on these hurricanes, they can keep the casualties to a minimum. I mean, they're already evacuating. So you'd hope that people listen. We know Fari Hamzy in the last one didn't listen. He wrote it out, but even he was okay. Tico, and that was the one, obviously, that came up the Florida coast there. But, I mean, hopefully they keep casualties to a minimum. So that's why you think it's a property that gets hit. That's why sometimes the property insurers are the ones that don't bounce back as easily. So if I was looking for a bounce play, I think I would pick on like the Allstates or more the AIGs even. But we'll see. And travelers too. We'll see how hard they get hit. I think, they haven't, I don't think it's done getting hit here yet. So I just think you're early if you're coming here buying today.
Okay, and for these Home Depot and the Lowe's, I mean, these stocks have just been on a tear. Home Depot up another $1.97 at 212.66. Lowe's is trading at all-time highs. I do have a little of that, and I believe Lisa has a little bit of that. And
I think this is going to be your move that I would be lightening up into eventually. I think the next day or two you're going to see these things top out. So I don't think it's going to be continue. I think you want to be out of these things before that hurricane hits, in my opinion.
Right. A lot of times when the damage isn't as bad, they come off.
They do.
Just keep an eye on your pre-market highs and these issues. 114.27 in Lowe's, and then for Home Depot, just hit a pre-market high at 213.20. Just see how these correspond with the previous day's highs. Also, if they go into reverse, they have gaps to fill. So if you want to look at a gap fill, look at the upper end of the prior day's range. If for Home Depot, that would be 211.62.
Lots of other stocks here. Let's go back to Rating Spinner, bringing up our KRYS. And yes, I'm happy about this one. I saw the Cantor rating change here, initiating it at Outperform. Who was on the show that gave us this one? I always forget. Chad will help me out with it. But about 6 months ago, somebody was on our show, gave us Crystal Biotech. A lot of our people in the chat bought it. I bought it as well. It sat there for a couple months and didn't do anything. But obviously now it's almost a double for me. I think I originally bought it $10.30. It's trading $19.79. It closed. Still wild spreads. Cantor comes out with the initiation. I think it's probably going to be up here again today. Obviously still own this one. I'm sticking with it. I've read a lot of research on this one too. And this is going to be one of those. It's going to be, it's not, if we look at this a year from now, it's not going to be $20. It's either going to be $1 or $2 if their drug doesn't work, or it's going to be like $100. It's going to be one of those. It's not going to be any in between here. The market cap's still only like 230 million. So it all depends on how they can do with this drug that they've got, obviously cooking for this skin disease, which is a really bad one. It's something like from birth, people have this disease. It's like 1 in 30,000 people, and it actually can be fatal. So it's a very bad disease they're trying to fight. Yeah, I forget the name of it. It's a really rare disease, but the people who are fighting it spend a lot of money fighting this. So, I hope that they can come up just, for those people, obviously, as well. But I'm still betting on, there's a few people apparently in the trial here right now trying, this drug here or whatever it is. And obviously Crystal Biotech is trying to solve a major problem for a few people out there. And I hope they can do it. I hope they can do it. Obviously, if the stock goes up as well, it's good for me too. But $10 where I bought. I'm sticking with it for a while. We'll see if it continues to run here. Maybe I sell half and then play with the house's money. That's always an idea. I was thinking if it continues to run, but we'll see what happens. It's almost a double for me now, though. So thanks to who was it,
Spencer? Do you remember?
It was on our show.
Was it the guy from LifeSci Biosciences?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so. If somebody in the chat remembers, we give a shout out. Last time we talked about it too, I forgot who was on the show, but he said this was his pick. Speculative pick, and it's still speculative capital. And if the drug doesn't get through, this thing could burn through its cash and could be a zero. It really could be. So this is only speculative money. But I'll tell you right now, it's looking pretty good.
Was it Jonathan Wexler? I think it may have been.
You know what? I'll try and track him down today and see if we can get him on the show tomorrow or early next week. All-time
high though by him on our show.
All-time
Spinner
high.
Says was the guy from Life Bio.
Okay, yes. Spinner has a pretty good memory.
Jonathan Wexler is his name.
All right, we'll see what he thinks here. Hit $20 right on the kisser. I mean, the only thing that is a psychological number. You've hit it a few times here, so I don't know if that's going to have any any significant meaning. A lot of times when these things get going in one direction, wait, you know what? The volume hasn't picked up yet in this one.
No, this thing trades like by appointment only, Joel. This thing is like slow. It trades with $1 spread half the time.
You know what? I absolutely would not be short this stock.
This can just explode. And I'm talking my book here too, but this is just so thin. If it starts to get more coverage, it could really go. But again, long term, this is either, the drug's going to work or the drug's not going to work. And if it works, this thing's worth a lot more money. If it doesn't, which is probably more the likely scenario, it's worth a lot less. So you got to find out when those trials. We'll have to find out when the actual results. I believe we're going to get some data from them later this year. But right now, it's just riding the wave. And obviously, there's some major institutions now and analyst side, some sell side research speculating that, hey, maybe they're onto something here.
What's the short interest?
I don't know if there is much. This thing is so speculative. Let's go look. It's a race here, Spencer. What's the short interest if there's any? I'm not even sure anybody even looks at this or knows about this.
I got 1.4%.
Yeah, it's basically nothing.
Okay.
That can just
All I'm going to have to say is, what if this trades 250,000 shares today?
Oh, I mean, you could. Well, it's not going to do that. I mean, what's the volume been? Like, what's been the biggest volume day? Like yesterday was 45,000 shares. Like, it is like light trading stock. The one thing I like it is there's been accumulation. You know, there was that bought deal where there was an investor, you know, that bought a whole pile of stock at 16. They obviously need to raise cash. They continue to raise cash to continue to finance their, their trials here. But the wild card is you've got a very speculative thing here. A speculative company is trying to fight a big disease. There is the potential for some major money if they do get it through. But it's still just a lottery ticket. That's what this is. It's a lottery ticket. At this time, especially if you hold it into the trial data, then it's more of a lottery ticket. That's why I think I'm probably going to sell half of my position before the trials, because, it would suck to, like, it comes out, okay, the drug's no good, and the thing goes down to $1 on you. But because that's what it will do. I mean, we've seen this before. Some of these speculative things, when the drug doesn't work out, these one-trick ponies, they go from $20 to $2 overnight. So, but if it has positive results or anything like that, you could have a Sarepta on your hands where the thing could just explode. So it's, with only a $200 million market cap, this is just speculative capital, but I'm sticking with it for now.
Okay. All right. 8:32 here. We have a few minutes before we bring on Nick Shaheen, author, Create Income with Option Spreads here. In the day here, we have the SPOOs in the red here by $7.50. Dennis, do we have more selling balances than buying balances?
Let's go take a look and see what we see. Alibaba, which, man, I gotta talk Alibaba, but this is just in disaster mode. 109,000 to sell. It's down again every single day. The stock goes down. There can't be, out of all the big tech, out of all the big, even the Chinese ones, who's hated more than Alibaba right now? I mean, and the one problem is what we were saying yesterday is the research is all bullish. I mean, there's 47 buys or something on this thing, and only the one sell that we could find from our buddy Moss over there at Standpoint Research. There's some analysts that got to play catch up here, and that's the problem too. So if you're saying this has got to be the bottom, I think there's some downgrades coming as the problem. So, and that can knock it down further. So, I have no interest in getting long in this thing until it stops at least going down. Give me a double bottom. Give me a reason. Give me something to look for before just coming in here and saying this is the bottom. Because every morning I come in, it seems like this thing is lower.
How about Jack Ma just checking out like that? I mean,
and he wants to do other things. He wants to get more into philanthropy. I mean, maybe that's. He is like, he's good like that though. I mean, I think, he wants to try some other thing, do some. So I kind of get that. And apparently, as Spencer and I talked about this yesterday, apparently the successor has kind of been running a lot of the show for a long time. So it was a natural, the Zhang guy. He's been running the show. So I don't know how big of a deal it is. I mean, it's the founder though that's getting out. So that obviously the market thinks it's a big deal because down 7 points or 8 points it's been announced. But I'm just more concerned with the trend. And there is a lot of people who are underwater in this thing right now. And it ran. The problem, Joel, is it ran, and from 2017 to 2018, we went from $80 to $180. So when I look at the chart here, I'm like,
there's nothing there.
It's just because it ran straight up the entire year. So where does it stop? Who knows? I don't think it's going back down to 80 or 100 or 120. And eventually, at a certain point in time, there's a valuation issue, and I probably get interested, CFA, I get interested in looking at stocks from a valuation perspective. At a certain point in time, it'll get attracted to value traders. But at this point in time, the growth guys are getting the hell out and the value guys aren't ready yet. You got that gap that I talk about.
Okay, Spencer, you want to dial up Nick Shaheen? He's the author of Create Income with Option Spreads. Yep, he joins the show every Tuesday at 8:35. Gives us this fundamental, technical, and seat of the pants advice. Hey, Nick, how you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Good. We just covering a lot of different issues here this morning. We were just talking about Alibaba, and we're talking about Tesla. But overall, just want you to get your overall comments on the market. Spencer came out with an interesting statistic. We haven't had a 1% move since late January, early February here. That's a consolidation period. The trend has been up. What are you using for confirmation? Just the consolidation to go higher, or this market finally maybe giving back some of those gains?
Well, if you're looking at just a price action, it is predictable. So when we move up, we break out, have a mini breakout, whatever you want to call it. You retrace back to where you break out from. And that's what people call consolidation, I think, because they establish a prior zone that was a breakout as a forward support for some upside. So it's only normal. And I'll post the minis picture of it, and I try to make it as visual as possible. Overnight, we had a little tiny head and shoulder that puts us here. But then if we lose here, 28.65 comes into view, which also brings 28.47. But if you look at it overall, every morning in the write-up, I post the levels from which we came, and then I refer to them. So I'll say, okay, this was our target, it was done, and now it's being tested. And then when I say it was tested, well tested, then we move past it. But I keep it as a log, just as visual reference every morning to where we came from and where we're headed. So take the headlines aside, this price action is fine. In fact, if you look at the chart I posted, the red line I drew weeks ago. So we're going along the red line almost like I drew it knowing what the prices are going to be like.
Go back to Alibaba. We just gave we were trying to find some support in this thing, but I was just saying I'm not buying until it stops looking. It's like, give me a green candle, give me a reason here. Thing goes down $3 every day. Why do I want to be the first guy to hold out and say that this is the bottom? Nick Shaheen, are you? But you like writing puts, lower puts there. Are you starting to get your put right shoes on this one?
I had puts open on this one, but I closed them. I can't remember the outcome of them, so they didn't break my heart, obviously. If I made money on them, that's fine. Yesterday, I sent out a note that said maybe, actually, because the only reason I sent out the note is because I had a conversation with somebody offline, and I just my obligation to share it with everybody else. So technically, this is a target from when it lost footing up around 165, 6, something like that. And it has legs to go lower. And I said, I don't have any recent levels at this place, so I have to revert all the way back to 2017 July.
And there's not much in there.
There's a little consolidation period, but yes, we sliced through a level because of whatever the heck they said 2-3 times in a row. So they changed the game then. So onus is on the bull to say that was the right thing to do. And I don't know if the bears have enough oomph of them to slice through this. So I said, okay, so if somebody wants to go long, they can do it in 2 ways. Either take a longer dated calls or debit call spread, which is a hopium trade, or selling puts, put spreads, probably more responsible to say. Probably middle of October, there are $1 wide. So if you want to get like 10-20% yield on the risk, you can do that. And put a stop loss on it, meaning if it goes against you, continues to be a falling knife, then you can get out for small red rather than take a whole bunch of fistful of red.
What about AMD? Let's go over to this one. It's actually getting a price target raise. Thanks, Lobster. Rosenblatt here this morning, up to $40. I mean, the thing is breaking out here now once again in the 30 handle this morning. It's already traded 3 million shares this morning. So this looks like a classic breakout here, because we got up there and we bumped our head against 33 days ago. Then we did it yesterday. Now we're breaking out through it. I mean, this stock just has the wind so much in its sales, so much that I don't know the last time I saw a stock with this much wind in its sales.
There is no way I can chase it up here. I mean, I saw the breakout happening. Never did I imagine it would be that big.
Crazy.
And up here, I'd rather bet on laggards like Micron or something, or Intel. Micron trades at a 4.5 PE, trailing PE.
I know.
Not
I know. I own it.
Yeah. So people keep saying it's a value trap, maybe, but everything we do in our lives has semiconductor stuff in it. So I just can't imagine that's gonna. If Micron's gonna be at 30 or 35, then probably the stock market is not going to be here. AMD. To answer your question, is it's one of those things I missed it, the second, third, fourth, sixth legs of it. Maybe you plug your nose, you buy it like pot stocks. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not chasing it up here either. It's the same thing. I've missed it. I actually was in it right before this move, really kicking myself. So my butt hurts from kicking it myself so much, but I missed it, and it's gone. But what about? So you just mentioned Micron. I mean, it's getting it looks like another slice of RBC negative on it here today, and that's why it's trading down.
Is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah, that's why it's trading down. But what about the chip stocks altogether? Because it is just besides AMD and Nvidia, which are the honey badgers, and they don't care. It just keeps going up. The chips are a complete and utter disaster. I mean, Western Digital is now $55 here in the pre-market. We saw Applied Materials and Lam Research. Both of those stocks continue to break down. You can just pretty much look at everybody except AMD and they're weak. Even Intel, which is one of your bigger guns here, is right hanging out near the lows. Micron, you just talked about, it's weak as well. I mean, from a valuation perspective, a lot of these things are attractive, but from a trend perspective, holy cow, you're fighting the trend if you're going long.
Definitely. So you have to do homework. Lam Research had just posted, you got to do homework on the fundamentals and you got to do homework on the technicals and see if you can come up with something that's tradable. Lam has been, I remember when it was in the 30s and then it caught wind and it was a Kramer fave, but I haven't heard him defend it. I don't watch him every night, but I do catch his start and end.
Yes, let's talk about Kramer for a second. He's taken a lot of time off now. Is he like working towards retirement here or something? Because you see the reruns on Mad Money. It was a rerun again last night. He took off the week of Amazon. Amazon had earnings. He took that week off.
Maybe he's going to manage the Philadelphia football team. I'm not sure.
It looks to me like he's slowing right down because so many times on Mad Money, it's a rerun now. It never was. That guy was a workhorse. I was counting on him to make me money on PVH after the earnings, but he didn't do that. I figured it was probably a rerun to that day.
I know. I was like, come on, man, bring your buddy online and pump up that stock up for me, please. But he was
because he moves stocks. That's the one thing about there's nobody moves from CNBC. Nobody moves stocks but Jim Cramer.
I'm gonna say something here, but if I will deny it if you repeat it. So on CNBC, I cannot believe I'm saying this, that probably the only thing from an investing perspective, from investing ideas and things, he's probably the only one that is consistent and presents a thesis. The rest are just headline writers that just don't make sense. They have the fast money trades that offer almost no trading. Like when Tesla was falling, that's not a tradable stock. I was like, wait a minute. First, you want implied volatility to make money. And then when it comes in a stock, you say it's not a tradable stock. It is absolutely a tradable stock. So anyway.
Hey, Dennis, yesterday.
Games too. Sorry, Joe. One more point I did say, but he just brought it up. It's these games too that they're playing on fast money. I mean, I watch it because they will move stocks. You kind of got to watch it because Carter Worth gets on there, he gets bullish on something, he can move a stock. So you got to watch because there is influence from their people who are on that show. But that being said, who the hell is writing these games for them? I mean, they're playing Truck It or Chuck It, and they're playing like this. And they're like trying a different game all the time. I mean, it's childish.
They do, yes, they do have their moments and like a couple of gems here and there, but it's definitely not a place to get ideas. So back to what we were talking about is if you're looking to grab a stock, first of all, we are at all-time highs in the stock market. So a 10% correction is not crazy. I'm not calling for it. It's just not crazy. We're one headline away from either side of 10%, in my opinion. You come out with a headline today that says we have a deal on NAFTA and Chinese stock are going well. Where do you think we will be in 10 days from now? It'll be an amazing run that the bears will have to cover. And vice versa is correct. If you come out and say, the Chinese trade war is going to heck, we're going to wage war in Syria, and we're going to kill the NAFTA deal, and there's no talks with Europe, we're going to have some selling. So, but the current fundamentals are not crazy that we're up here. The valuations are not insane. It's not 1999.
Just a note here, yesterday was the Jewish holiday, Dennis. So, Kramer did take off for that.
Oh, right.
So I can't attest to the other times that he's taken off, but, that's just something to be aware of.
My bad.
Okay, no big deal. We got some questions here about Amazon here, and the Wall Street analysts were just goosing that thing. It's going to 2,000. It's going to 2,500. We actually went to 20, 50, 50. and now we've lost a cool 120 points. And I'm looking at here at the last three lows, 1935, 1937, and 1931.52 here. And I'm saying with this red spoon, red tape, you take out 1930 here, I don't want to have anything to do with the stock on the long side. And I don't see really any very good support until you get down to 1880. So that's what I'm looking at in Amazon.
Whoa, what did you just say, 1880? So I just posted the Amazon chart, and yesterday or the day before yesterday, I drew for my people a rectangle saying this is a support zone where I think it'll fall to if it loses the recent low, because of some sort of an inverse cup and handle-ish where they tested a neckline. If that neckline breaks, 1880 is about halfway in that rectangle. So you and I agree on where support lies. Me, it's a rubber band. You're more precise. You like to pick actual levels. So for me, they overshoot one way or another. So 1880 is not crazy. And below that, it'll be 1780, 1770, something like that. But where's the disaster in that? I remember saying buy the dip to 800, and it had fallen from its all-time high after the earnings spike. I remember saying exactly the same thing at just above 920. So yes, to answer your question, go into 2,500. I have no doubt in my mind that if the stock markets don't crash, not correct, crash, it'll be there in not a long time. So this is a company that completely, it reinvents itself in every few years and finds new venues to make money, from which to make money. So it's a startup that never stops. And to boot, it makes money now. So it doesn't burn cash. It burns enough cash out of its own pocket. And whenever it doesn't work, he pulls the plug. So there is nothing to short in this one, in this environment.
Okay. All right. S&Ps are hanging in here near the low of the session, down 850 and 2871.75 here. Nick, just want to ask you quickly about some of these stocks that are getting killed. We already did LRCX. I mean, something like your Western Digital or your Seagate. I mean, those besides, anything.
I haven't. No problem. I haven't done WDC just because I don't have a good beat on it. Okay. If you look on the weekly chart, it's just big waves that are hard to formulate over like the next 2-3 months. It's more like a couple of year trade, and I'm just not that committed to it. Plus, they had some headline issues a while back. A friend of mine worked there, and I just didn't like what he was telling me. That's WDC. What's the other one? STX? Is it?
Yes, Seagate. Yep.
So Seagate, I have a better beat on it, but I still haven't traded it. But I do have, if you look at the weekly in Seagate, it's kind of, I don't know what it's doing this morning. I can imagine it's down. But on the weekly, you can ignore the short-term noise a little bit. You can see something against which you can trade as far as support. And then consequences if it loses that. So again, I drew a box, which was a roof back in March of last year. And then recently in January, they broke out from it, and they are testing it. And if they lose, it being 48 plus or minus 50 cents maybe, and then there's a gap below. So that's probably in play. But if you look at the red blue on my charts, this is just mean reversion. So it's just a regression line. And it's not crazy to see 40 and still be okay with the stock. Higher lows over on a weekly chart.
All right, and oil is just kind of quiet as late. I know you're keeping an eye on it here, trying to get off the mat. I got a lot of closes, a lot of congestion here at 67.75, so kind of leading short here until we can bust above Monday's high, 68.52. Any thoughts on the oil market?
I'm not trading it just because it's a rigged game for sure. I mean, you've got OPEC rigging it, you got the US rigging it. It's just untradeable it's to me uninvestable that way. It is tradable. We got the dollar to deal with, but oil has been somewhat inured to the dollar play. However, I just see a spike in the dollar, I think, this morning. So gold's getting killed, and oil will have downside pressure just from that perspective. I saw a spike recently. It touched it and it just fell apart from it. It should have support down to 66, 65. Obviously, if it loses 65, you get a head and shoulder-ish pattern, loosely interpreted. So it could see 61 if that falls apart. I'm not calling for it. These are the ranges I'm looking at.
Okay. So Dennis, you have anything else?
Yeah, let's just go to a couple of the other ones. Apple, we got the event happening tomorrow morning. Stock gets hit on tariff news there yesterday. What are your thoughts here going into the event? Typically, it does catch a little bit of a bid. I was thinking about buying it near the close just because sometimes it gets bid up into the event, obviously depending on what's happening with the overall market. But we're getting a little pullback here in Apple as of recent. I mean, it's been on an incredible run. What are your thoughts here on the big gun?
The big gun is fundamentally sound. Obviously, I don't like Tim Cook. You know that. I don't like what he's not done with the company. But they tell me that it's going down the line of services. And if so, man, does it have a base to play there. So it does have a runway for a long time to be a quality company. Now, it's just market dependent. So if the market's going to correct, it's going to fall. But usually people tell me it rises into an event and then it sells off, but there's nothing usual about it these days. So if you want to scalp a credit put spread in the meantime, you can do that maybe. Kind of maybe even an iron condor there, but I don't like the short stocks anymore. So it depends on the market. That's my opinion on Apple. I don't think they're going to say anything game changing. And if so, it's the upside blindside that comes and not the downside whoosh.
A lot of good news priced in. It's been a pretty incredible move.
Yeah, I'm not long it. I don't want to be long it. I said it before. I was looking for 196, but boy, did we blow out of that one. Closer to 196 would be a better entry for me. So I hope we don't get it in a big whoosh because the whole market would suffer from it. But if we do, then I'd be we'll talk about loading long again.
All right. Nick Shaheen, author of Create Income with Option Spreads, joins us every Tuesday. Nick, thanks so much for the time. As always, have a good one.
I appreciate the opportunity.
All right.
Thanks, Nick.
All right, 8:52 now, guys. Where do you want to go? We had a couple of earnings that we didn't even get to. We don't have to get to them.
Sono. Everybody likes trading those new IPOs, and this is. I think is this the first report we've had from them, or we've had one?
It is the first one, and it's interesting because street leaning the wrong way going into it.
Definitely.
So
buying it into the report again. I'm going to keep saying it. It seems to be, into an event or into an earnings event, you seem to catch a lift. Sometimes it's the best to, sell it before the event and not take it through, because after the event or after the earnings, sometimes, it's a wild card and a coin flip. And in this case, the coin is going down.
All right, so the Q3 numbers, 45-cent loss was the EPS, 22-cent loss was the estimate. Sales, 208 versus $207 million, so a slight beat on the sales figure. I don't think that's enough to compensate for the big EPS miss. Fiscal year sales guidance still coming in line with the estimate. They are not providing quarterly guidance, and I don't think they will for the time being.
That's a hard one, Joel. We'll throw it at you.
Well, we're finding a little support here at 1750 to 1760. That's been holding up here since 730, 745. What do we have? On the daily, 17 to 17 and a half. If I had this, to bring this in as a short, I'd be having my bids down at the pre-market low, hopefully to get hit there, and also 1776 and 17 even. If not, that buyer may have to step up a little bit, but someone's buying it here right now. So whether they continue to do that in the regular session, we shall see. Big candle yesterday. So you got shorts that are saying, thank God letting me out. And you have longs thinking, oh my gosh, I hope I can get out. So it's going to be a battle of the bulls and bears there. Keep an eye on your pre-market low.
Jump over here. We did touch on imbalances. I'll just give you a few other ones because the only one I did mention was Alibaba. GE, every single day, sound bounce, 163,000 shares. Funny thing is on GE, it seems to keep opening low, but then it's finding buyers the last few days. It's like opens near the lows, and then they find some buyers there. And it did yesterday too. So it's trying to show life despite this institution that's been selling, I feel like, for a year. Like really, like how long have we been talking about GE selling balances in the morning? It's probably the same person that's just been slowly selling forever. Just because it's so consistent, it makes me think it's the same person. 146,000 shares to sell here this morning. Taiwan Semiconductor, which is a semiconductor that's actually held up not bad. considering it's been on a pretty good run, actually. 79,000 shares to sell this morning. So it is getting whacked here this morning. AT&T, 117,000 to buy, a little more defensive in nature. Home Depot, we already talked about the hurricane stocks. It has a buy balance of 15,000 shares. Obviously bid up here this morning again on the potential for the disaster coming up on Friday. Pretty much Johnson & Johnson, 37,000 to sell. They're pretty small.
Okay. All right. S&Ps are not showing a lot of resilience here. We've continued to make new lows here, going into the opening here in about 34 minutes. Currently trading at 28.70. So we've already had a 15-point range, and our 9-day average trading range in the SPOOs has come down under 20, and it's right around 19.5. So here you have a situation where we've had a long period of tight ranges. We've already traded 3/4 of the range, so got to get off the mat early here, protect last week's low at 28.65, or may finally have one of those decent down days that everyone, including me, has been looking for.
We need that 1% move. Is it going to happen? So it's today the day.
Well, it take a lot more, Dennis, because we're only down, 0.3, or
Yeah, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know today either. Looking at some of the big guns here. I just talked FANG real quick. Facebook made a new low of the move after earnings, and you got a level to lean on, but 160.16. That's your 2-day low. You're still. Hovering above that. Decent day yesterday, 2-day rally, but traded down just a little bit. Real good resistance here at 165. 164.03 was Friday's high. 165.01 was your high in yesterday's session, Dennis. You have a little bit of Facebook. Any thoughts on that long term?
160. I agree with you here. Long term, I think there's some value there. I stuck in my long-term retirement account at 175, obviously down here on it. But like I said, it's my best long-term investments I take heat on in the beginning. And this, from a valuation perspective, doesn't look that bad to me at all. They're going to do other things. I mean, they keep evolving here. So I think long-term, I think Facebook's going to be just fine. I think if you're buying it here, with a 1-day time horizon, who knows? If you're buying it here with a 10-year time horizon, I think you'll be happy that you did it. And the double bottom 160. Twitter too, kind of put in a double bottom 29.82, 29.95. So you have some areas to lean on here. It's going to test that maybe today. Let's see if it responds. Let's see if it can hold 29.82. If Twitter can hold that, maybe it can start to catch a bid, but trend not your friend. But unlike Facebook, I mean, Twitter valuation is just scary to me. So that's why I had Twitter for a bit. I had it on for a swing trade, sold it just in time. I mean, just in time, because I sold it that day of the red candle on September the 5th. I sold it that morning, like right near the open, and it was straight down there. And that was just because the market was overall weak and it looked heavy and it looked like it was going to go into a sell-off. Wish I would have went short. But anyways, I did get out of the long just in time.
Let's cover this one merger where we've gotten a lot of requests here for IDTI. Spencer, you got the details on that merger?
Yep, they're being acquired by Renesas for $49 per share.
Is that cash?
Yep, all cash transaction.
Oh, big discount, 47. So Risk Arb's nervous about this one. If it's 49 in cash, 2 points down. So that's always interesting if it's an all cash deal. $47, trading up 11%. I mean, that's the only thing I would note.
What's this? Is it a private company or who's taking it over?
It's OTC. So Renesas.
Okay.
So
I don't know. I mean, when they leave you a little bit of a discount, something like that, there's obviously someone saying, "Hey, I don't want to wait until this deal goes through. I want to take my money out at $47." I don't know if there's any. Looks like this was rumored a little while ago here when you had the big gap up. So, if you want to play it for another $2, you just got to realize that if this deal falls apart here, you could be looking at $38. So not a real great risk-reward ratio here to get that last $2 off.
And we're not saying that's going to happen. It's just interesting that the risk arbs are pricing a 2-point discount. It means there is some risk. If this is an all stock, I'm just going from Spencer. If this is an all cash deal,
it is.
Okay.
Okay. All right, Spencer. Why don't you wrap things up here on this Tuesday? And
remember, Apple event tomorrow. Apple event.
Apple event tomorrow. It'll be afternoon, noon actually, East Coast time. I think it's 9 a.m. Pacific. So it'll be afternoon for us, but that'll be the headliner for tomorrow's show. As far as today's show, if you missed any part of it, you can catch our podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, Google Play, or youtube.com/Benzinga TV. Thanks to our guest, Nick Shaheen. Thanks to all of you in our chats, premarket.benzinga.com, youtube.com. There, I want to remind you all that all the information from our show is for informational purposes only and not meant to be investing advice. Hope you all have had a good day so far. We'll be back with you on Wednesday.